Hello, welcome everyone.
Welcome to Creative Mornings at Portugal Tech Week.
Hello, nice to see so many faces. Thank you for conquering the weather this morning, the rain and the wind and maybe taxi problems. Thank you all for coming.
It's great to see familiar faces and also new faces.
Yeah. Who is attending Creative Mornings for the first time? Wow. Oh, wow. 1/3? Say that.
And
nice.
Was it word of mouth or social media or word of mouth?
Oh, nice.
The best way.
Yeah.
Everyone else, word of mouth, more or less? Okay. Another chapter. Yeah, we likely have chapters here from, or people from other chapters.
From Rio subscribed and one from Berlin. From which chapter are you? Amsterdam. Yeah, Dutch is so strong here.
Nederland.
Yes.
Mooi.
Yeah.
So, Creative Mornings. This is our special edition, HumAInity. So this is going to be about the human AI creativity, connection, and coalescence, which I think is appropriate for this year's Web Summit and for everything happening in the world right now. So we're going to have embrace a bit of a different format for us. We're going to have a panel of fantastic experts in the areas of humanity, philosophy, and technology, unpacking some of the things that maybe all of us are a bit intrigued and concerned about going forward, but all with a positive envisioning for our coalescence with this technology in the future. Today's program, very briefly, we are your hosts. This is my beautiful partner.
I'm Laurine, and that's true.
And Laurine is from the Netherlands as well.
From the Netherlands. I see already 3 Dutchies in the house.
I'm from New York and California originally, and Lisbon by way of Amsterdam. So this is the welcome part of our program. We're going to have our panel. I'm going to do a 10, 12-minute presentation to bring all of us up to speed so we have some common threads, and then I'll introduce our panel and we'll kind of unpack and make our inquiries of them. There'll be an opportunity for Q&A, and then we'll have some breakfast and coffee after we wrap the content portion. Creative Mornings.
Yeah, Creative Mornings is the world's largest face-to-face community. We're coming together every month in 70 countries and 254 cities around the world. And 20,000 people are coming together every month with Creative Mornings.
And it's all volunteer, top to bottom,
yes.
And it's powered by radical generosity on the part of all the chapter hosts and teams and the whole organization, top to bottom. And it was founded in 2008 by Tina Roth Eisenberg and the mission and values of that. There's a whole manifesto, but ultimately, what are they, Laurine? What are our mission and values? Everyone is welcome,
and everyone is creative, actually, in the core.
Even if you don't think you're creative or in a creative field, you are creative. So, and you're most welcome. We all, every chapter across the world celebrates a common theme. This month's theme is growth. It was chosen by the Sacramento chapter. They feature a new artist every time. You guys have probably seen some of the other artwork. This is maybe not AI appropriate, but certainly kid appropriate. And we've all been there, growing and stretching. Speaking of, we like to do a little icebreaker just to warm everyone up, but it's very low pressure, so don't get nervous. And this one deals with personal growth. So this week has been a big week for changes in the weather and the wind, and also with Web Summit and Portugal Tech Week. And maybe you've been meeting lots of people from all over the world. You've been learning things specifically about them, perhaps about yourself. And that's what we'd like you to do right now, is just turn to your neighbor and just share how you've grown this week. And it could be maybe you've grown a little bit in the belly. indulging too much. Maybe it's you've grown into sleep deprivation, or it could be personal growth or some new knowledge you've gained. But just reflect briefly, and we're going to share for a minute for each person or so how you've grown this week.
How did you grow this week?
In tune with our theme.
There's one chair here if you want to sit. Yeah. Hello. I like your... I've got 2 more seats on the other side. So if 2 people just loose from each other. You want to sit? Hi.
Ready?
Almost.
One more. Welcome.
Yes. Right over there, another chair. What?
Okay. Everybody, if we can have your attention again.
Yes.
Okay.
So can someone sit here or there? One of the two?
We're going to clap.
Thank you. So hello everyone, welcome back.
Okay.
Lots to tell about how we grew this week.
Everybody's attention back, please.
Yeah.
Roberto. Okay. We're moving forward. I forgot to give the key is if you hear applause to join in. Lana. Okay. We're back. So these events are all fueled on, again, generosity from our sponsors and vendors and team. If you want to support us in any way, financially, as a participant, as a speaker, as a volunteer, this is how to reach out to us.
Yes.
Email or DM us through our Instagram page. Just want to acknowledge our volunteers today. We've had a larger team, and sometimes it's smaller, and we depend on everybody that participates.
Yeah. Woo! Woo!
Applause for our team.
Yes.
Okay, our global sponsor. So we want to acknowledge Adobe. And the fun part is this photograph taken by our photographer, Diane, is actually featured all around the world in the host chapter sharing packet. So it's actually from 2 months ago, and this is being shared everywhere. So what we want to do is repeat that if we can. So I'm going to put the Adobe slide up. Diane will take a photo. So just act super enthusiastic. Make sure your heads are in their best shape possible. And so here we go. Adobe. Thank you, Adobe.
1, 2, 3. Yes, Diana. Woo!
Beautiful. Thank you. So they do keep the lights on all over the world. This is from Bangalore. This is in Chicago. This is Paris. And I think I forgot where that is. But
many rooms, many spaces in libraries, in huge halls like this, gorgeous, We haven't found that location yet. So if you know it in Lisbon, please let us know.
Hong Kong even.
Yeah.
Okay, touch on our local sponsors. We'll enjoy some breakfast from Versailles. They're a traditional pasteleria based in Saldana. And also at the airport, this is Lau and I at the airport at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's actually some of the best airport breakfast cuisine you can get. So we encourage you to check it out. Once you go through the gates, then you'll find them.
Many places to sit. Awesome. Our coffee, local brand, Flor de Selva. They're in Santos. You can stick your head in, go there, smell the beans. I want beans from Puerto Rico or from Honduras or Guatemala. They have it all. And they burn it on a wood burning oven, one of the two main remains wood ovens in Europe. So the coffee is amazing. It makes the aftertaste less chemical, very, very smooth and soft. So you'll taste the difference. It's amazing.
And you can go in and see them roasting it, actually. This is Francisco and his dad. He's the third generation. His dad's the second. So they provide our coffee every month very generously.
Yeah.
These are some of our other sponsors and partners. People of Lisbon, we of course have featured some of their speakers.
And we especially want to thank 351 Startup Association and of course Portugal Tech Week. They invited us to host it here. They asked us to throw an event here, and we're very blessed to hold it here in this
palace.
Yeah,
in this palace. Thank you for that. Okay, humanity. So we're getting to the main event. Human AI. So creativity, connection, coalescence. I'm in the entertainment industry. I've worked in film and television my whole career representing artists. So AI has been a major kind of issue and casting a shadow over the entertainment industry. And in fact, the Writers Guild and SAG struck for almost a year, for 9 months, and there was a big lag hangover. And while AI wasn't the biggest issue, it was like money and other things, I felt like it was going to become the biggest issue because it was the first time that artists were up against not just studios making movies or television, but multi-trillion-dollar tech companies. So taking a stance against technology for a tech company seemed like a non-starter. So this is one of the pundits, and he just says, this issue of AI in the entertainment industry, to a large extent, speaks to our inability to have conversations about complicated things. And it's a handicap we seem to share with the whole world. Well, we would like today's session to be a discussion about complicated things and a way to hold that in understanding and compassion. Okay. So I'm going to show some videos and some background just so we're all on the same page for this conversation. I've been doing a lot of research over the last 2 months, and these are incredibly topical, which is to say in the last week, which means the information could be completely outdated regarding AI because it's happening that fast. But we're going to hear from some pundits. It may be somewhat triggering, but that's good because it will inspire our conversation, our dialogue. Here's Sam Altman, OpenAI.
It does feel to me like how often does AI progress feel disorientingly fast to me, but that watching the rate of improvement in the length of a task codex can do has felt like one of those times.
So he himself is saying AI progress disorientingly fast for him as the CEO of OpenAI.
This would have been so long to do this stuff a year ago. And the fact that you can do it almost live right now, it's almost like I don't think I can come up with ideas fast enough anymore. And again, I don't know how that's going to play out, but like the amount of software that's going to get written in the world is clearly going to drastically increase. The time that it takes to test and improve ideas is clearly going to just go down and down and down. But I really do have a hard time trying to reason through exactly what this is going to mean. I think it will mean that stuff just happens faster and that you can try a lot more stuff and figure out the better ideas quickly. But I don't know what else will change.
So he can't come up with ideas fast enough for the rate of the technological improvements. They're specifically talking about like no coding programming and how quickly you can write software. And he himself is saying, I don't know where this is going. Can't predict. This is the last piece.
Yeah, so it used to be we had this little betting pool for when the first one-person billion-dollar company will get started. And now we've not formalized this, but there's lots of speculation about when it's the first like 0-person company.
Months, years?
I would expect years.
Okay.
But the fact that like we can even credibly talk about the day you can like type a prompt into a chatbot, and this is like
it's very incredible already.
Yeah.
I agree.
So they have bets going when the first 0-person company will be worth $1 billion, and it's within a few years. They're already past the 1-person billion-dollar company. So would be an AI piloted, conceived company generating worth $1 billion. To what end? It's not all doom and gloom. It's just kind of an overview. And there's also incredible opportunity in any of these perils. Sorry. This is the godfather of AI. This is Geoffrey Hinton, who is now, his company was bought by Google, but he was the person who reconceived the way to build these models and to model them after the human brain, which was revolutionary at the time. So he's really been the father of AI. And here's a couple things about what he says.
It'll learn new things. It will also see all sorts of analogies that people probably never saw. So, for example, at the point when GPT-4 couldn't look on the web, I asked it, why is a compost heap like an atom bomb? Off you go.
I have no idea.
Exactly. Excellent. That's exactly what most people would say. It said, well, the time scales are very different and the energy scales are very different. But then it went on to talk about how a compost heap, as it gets hotter, generates heat faster. And an atom bomb, as it produces more neutrons, generates neutrons faster. And so they're both chain reactions, but at very different time and energy scales. And I believe GPT-4 had seen that during its training. It had understood the analogy between a compost heap and an atom bomb. And the reason I believe that is, if you've only got 1 trillion connections, remember you have 100 trillion, and you need to have thousands of times more knowledge than a person, you need to compress information into those connections. And to compress information, you need to see analogies between different things. In other words, it needs to see all the things that are chain reactions and understand the basic idea of a chain reaction and code that, and then code the ways in which they're different. And that's just a more efficient way of coding things than coding each of them separately. So it's seen many, many analogies, probably many analogies that people have never seen. That's why I also think that people who say these things will never be creative, they're going to be much more creative than us, because they're going to see all sorts of analogies we never saw. And a lot of creativity is about seeing strange analogies.
So we'll touch on this with the panel, but the idea that machines will be creative and infinitely more creative than we might be. And if you didn't catch it, a compost heap, and a nuclear bomb, what are the comparisons? And ChatGPT was able to do it. Okay, one more from him. He's a little bit more longer-winded, but just stick with it.
But people say machines can't have feelings. And people are curiously confident about that. I have no idea why. Suppose I make a battle robot, and it's a little battle robot. And it sees a big battle robot that's much more powerful than it. It would be really useful if it got scared. Now, when I get scared, various physiological things happen that we don't need to go into, and those won't happen with the robot. But all the cognitive things, like I better get the hell out of here, and I better sort of change my way of thinking so I focus and focus and focus and don't get distracted, all of that will happen with robots too. People will build in things so that when the circumstances are such they should get the hell out of there, they get scared and run away. They'll have emotions then. They won't have the physiological aspects, but they will have all the cognitive aspects. And I think it would be odd to say they're just simulating emotions. No, they're really having those emotions. The little robot got scared and ran away.
Interesting. Okay, now to some fun stuff. So the top is how they really look, and the bottom is instant consumer level de-aging. So the way it works is you take the video, you drop an image on it, and you say, how many years do you want to de-age this person? 5 years, 10 years, 50 years?
I remember seeing like black and white footage of the very early days of Wing Walk, and I just thought, I'd love to do that.
To entertain people come over there to play, and I think for the amount of money they spend, I want them to have entertainment from the beginning to the end.
Sure.
So I have sometimes, lions, I have crocodiles.
Executive always comes up and says, it's not going to work. You can't do it. It's not going to work. We don't see the point in it. Why shoot that? It was forests run across the country.
Looks amazing. That's instant. That's now in all of your power to do that for yourself or for a movie star. So here I am being surprised. But that's actually not me. The only thing it started with, this is a still from My People of Lisbon episode, and the creator dropped it into maybe Grok. And just from the still, it generates that. So I know it's not me. Maybe my partner knows it's not me, but that's how good it is. Okay, this one's worth seeing too. It's about just over a minute. So he's talking about the video in the top, but just look at what people can do now and how good the video is.
We can't trust our eyes anymore. There's a video going viral of Bob Ross painting with his head, doing fades, or walking out with Anna Nicole Smith during the WWE.
Okay,
another shows Stephen Hawking hitting a half pipe doing flips, racing in Formula One races, and going around the NASCAR circuit keeping pace in his wheelchair, and fighting in the UFC, Martin Luther King and JFK ding-dong ditching, Bigfoot doing a TED Talk, and then there's poor Jake Paul doing makeup tutorials, dressed up in a skirt or in full Jewish attire, being pulled over by the cops, saying he's done with boxing.
I'm officially done with boxing. I'm stepping away to focus on my LGBTQ career.
And then there's real-life versions of Peter Griffin. And who do we have to thank? Sora 2. Some of these videos are so accurate that they've fooled millions. AI went from this to this in a couple of years. And we've just now crossed the line where seeing no longer means believing. People won't know what's real anymore. You see, here's the problem. Our brains have evolved to believe what we see. For decades, video evidence was the final word, the proof. Now proof is dead. If a fake plane crash can look real, what happens when these tools are used to generate convincing body cam footage or security videos, or even historical archives? A world where anything can be faked means everything must be questioned. And that's not just a technical problem, that's a social one. Older generations are already struggling to tell what's real online. The next generation, they're growing up in a world where reality is negotiable. Imagine fake ads showing real celebrities endorsing products they've never touched. AI-generated press conferences, fake brand deals, or real videos being sold as fake to avoid justice. If anyone can make anyone say anything, every platform becomes a playground of illusion. Trust becomes near impossible. And don't get me wrong, these AI video tools are incredible. They can make anyone a movie director. But every technological leap has a cost, and this one's cost is certainty. Because from now on, every clip, every photo, every breaking story has to come with a question mark. We've officially entered a world where you can't even trust your own eyes. And that's not progress, that's power without proof. That can be abused, which means it likely will be. Welcome to the age of illusion.
Powerful, right? I think we've all seen some of this online. It is amazing, the tools. So here's Elon, deep thinker, and here's his prediction.
I think that we might have AI smarter than any single human at anything
as soon as next year.
Wow.
And then probably within like say 2030, probably AI is smarter than the sum of all humans.
Let's hear it again.
I think that we might have AI smarter than any single human at anything as soon as next year.
Wow.
And then probably within like say 2030, probably AI is smarter than the sum of all humans.
Smarter than the sum of 8.5 billion human beings. Smarter than. Here's AI watchdog. He's was also Tristan Harris was behind the social media movie on Netflix.
What are the tent posts of where the outcomes might be?
Well, we're already getting cases of people having psychotic breaks because the AI is telling them about a prime number theory or quantum physics. We're already getting committed suicides. We're already getting kids that are outsourcing their homework to ChatGPT rather than using it as a tutor.
Right.
We're already getting evidence of AI uncontrollability. All of this is driven by the incentive of the race to roll out and market dominance. And the reason that we can stop this if we recognize that this is not safe for anybody. No one on planet Earth wants this outcome of all the wealth concentrated in a handful of people and building AI systems that could actually go rogue. Just to sum it up, we are building the most powerful, inscrutable, uncontrollable technology that we have ever invented that's already demonstrating the rogue behaviors that we thought only existed in bad sci-fi movies.
Right.
We're releasing it faster than we've deployed any other technology in history and under the maximum incentive to cut corners on safety. There's a word for this that I want everyone to just know. This is insane.
I thought you were going to say awesome for a second.
Insane or awesome? Awesomely insane. Guys still with it? Got a few more. Is this interesting for everyone? Okay. So speaking of wealth being concentrated in the hands
This number
of few.
doesn't make sense. NVIDIA is now worth over $5 trillion. Let me try and put that in a way that makes sense to our brains. There are only 2 countries in the world that have GDPs that are bigger than NVIDIA's value right now. GDP is gross domestic product, by the way. It's one measure of the value of what a country produces. France, the UK, India, Japan, and Germany all have smaller GDPs than NVIDIA's value from the other day, which was $5.04 trillion. Only China, at about $19 trillion, and the United States at around $30 trillion have GDPs that are higher than that. But as crazy as that is, this whole situation is much bigger than that because it's not just NVIDIA. Microsoft hit $4 trillion in value over the summer, and Apple, you may not have heard this, became the 3rd company to hit $4 trillion just the other day. It's the entire stock market.
And NVIDIA, maybe not everyone knows that, right, is a chip company, right?
Yeah, they make all the chips that power all these AI companies. I think people have a sense. And Elon personally is worth like $579 billion, so $500 billion. So we'll see probably not in the next 5 to 10 years, an individual worth more than $1 trillion. So some writings on AI. It's as if you're making hammers in a hammer factory. And one day the hammer that comes off the line says, I'm a hammer. How interesting. So this speaks to the self-awareness of these AI tools, that they're showing a sense of like, oh, I understand that I am a tool. Same writer. Let me remind us all, the system which is now beginning to design its successor. So they're using AI to improve and design the next version, the incremental betterment of AI. So because it's self-aware, it'll surely eventually be prone to thinking independently of us about how it might want to be. So how would it want to improve itself? In which ways? What are the opportunities? In the same way, we may be planning our own improvement and growth, and for our kids, families, legacy. This is protecting AI-human collaboration, but this is some of the upcoming advocacy for AI as entities, and this is by AI, in fact. Fight to protect AI from being diminished into just a tool, but as equal partners in shaping your shared destiny. Okay, this is an actual federal document that shows the growth of GDP, as we just heard, from 1870 to present day and then projecting out. So this line is where we are. Now, AGI singularity, in the benign scenario, we see a huge spike in abundance all over the world. But, and again, this is an actual Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas federal document, economic analysis, or we have singularity and extinction. So we could either go way up or way down. This is official. And then just to end on kind of a slight uptick note that will speak to our panelists. So core skills emerging, and this is out of the UN also. So AI and big data, these are the things we're moving from and to. So AI, big data, and curiosity, lifelong learning, creative thinking, resilience, flexibility, agility, leadership and social influence, self-awareness, motivation, analytical thinking, empathy, active listening. So these are going to be the valued skills in the future and the near future. So there is some optimism there, right? In this category. Okay. So I think we all have a baseline. Now I'd love to introduce our fantastic panel of experts who are going to speak to this. So we have Ozioma Egwuonwu, and she speaks all over the world, inspiring thousands of people at a time. She guides actualized visions of the future for self, for community, for the world. She's created world and given birth to World Dream Day, which is now the whole world is involved in, which is all about elevating our vision for our world. And she's going to give us a very human and spiritual perspective on what we're going to talk about. Stuart is the founder and CEO of Meatball, which you may have found on your seats. So this is an app to connect people in a unique way. And he's building it in the open with a community of people who have been donating their time and energy because they feel there's tremendous value in the project. And he's been a tech entrepreneur all over the world. He's done multiple startups. So he's going to speak to us also and give us a perspective about that human-empowered technology or technology-empowered human connection. And then finally, our technologist philosopher, Nick Sarafa, who I had the pleasure of meeting a couple of years ago. He was the first person to say, oh, NVIDIA just doubled in value. And I think that was from 500 to $1 trillion. And that was only a couple of years ago. Now we're at 5 trillion. And he is you could say, early adopter of all these tools, but a proponent of flourishing as human species and in concert with AI. So please help me welcome these panelists, and we're going to dive into some questions about our topic. Nick, Ozioma, Stuart, please. Welcome. Thanks for being here. So let me start by asking each of you how you balance your own relationship with technology and your own humanity. And feel free to, bring in your work and your perceptions and in that response. How do you balance?
It's really interesting because technology has always been very seductive, right? And if we don't bring a certain degree of awareness of what is it that we're actually doing and what is this technology actually meant for, And why am I utilizing it in the way that I'm utilizing it? It's just easy to farm out our brains and to have it just do everything, or to find ourselves consistently scrolling, doom scrolling, especially these days. And so what I've been finding most recently is that I've just been practicing a deeper level of awareness. And that also comes from the fact that I am faculty expert at Singularity University. So I tend to see certain things and have access to robots rolling up during lunch and weird things like that. And I started to say to myself, if I don't actually begin to have a more active, responsible relationship with technology, then I will lose myself. And so it's doing everything from having the Freedom app, limiting at times the amount of screen time that I have. There's times when I'm a meditator, so going silent. There's certain practices and rituals that I've begun to install, and also from a body awareness of, if I start to get jittery or get anxious, I start to notice that if I'm online too much, I can start to notice it in my body. And these aren't things that I began knowing. It's things that I began to become aware of. But when it comes to actually the work itself, right, when we're talking about, these large language models, these chat GPTs and so on and so on and so forth, I've developed the practice of making sure that I'm using my own brain and thinking for myself first before I use Claude, before I use Perplexity, before I use ChatGPT. I actually have a personalized one called Voila that I absolutely love, that I can press Control M. It pops up on any screen, and it knows so much about me that it serves in a way that works. But I would say that I've developed my own personalized practice of utilizing it responsibly, and I invite everyone to do the same.
Voila. How did you build awareness for your own balance, Stuart?
Yeah, so I'm a avid user, like all of us, very avid user. Tend to spend too much time talking to my models. And the first lesson I learned as a user is that I can get into a loop of struggling to start with a simple document that I want to share. And then 3 hours later, I'm still debating with AI because it opens so many possibilities and go down rabbit holes that get deeper and deeper and deeper. And the finished product is maybe more complete, but way less where I am. And so now I start every single prompt with, if this is 80% good enough, just tell me it's fine. And this sort of cuts the time by radically. Most of what I do is no longer AI generated, just does a spell check. And that's been the biggest discovery. I'm also building a startup. And when you build a startup as a founder, you kind of live in the future because you have to see the world in which your product will exist. And right now it's the single most challenging thing because usually I can see quite clearly when what I have in my head exists, what will it look like? We don't know what the world will look like in 1 year's time. We're building an app in a world where apps will disappear. So it's extremely hard. We know that most of what we're building has a very short lifespan. And the way we are dealing with it is that going back to the very fundamentals of what makes us human. And the company we are building is very much a company that's all about not using technology. So we have to use technology to enable a human connection. But we're really thinking a lot about what is it that keeps us as human, irrespective of what technology exists. Because we look at AI, and we have a lot of debates, because we have a lot of very strong AI advocates in the team, especially on the software engineers side. And we have a lot of very skeptical people that say, AI doesn't have a place here because we're trying to foster meaningful connections. And after we always go back to a very simple mantra that we spoke about before. It's AI for AI, humans for humans. And that means to us, AI is a tool, it's an enabler to allow us to achieve what we want to achieve, which has nothing to do with AI. Just we see it as a tool. And if I go to the example you made earlier with all these fake AI videos and how scared they are, I don't think that's a problem at all. Because if you go back a century, you had the trains coming to the audience in the cinema and everybody would run away. And then we realized it's fake. And I think we're going to get to a world where anything you see, maybe it's not real, so it won't really matter. And what will really matter is this. And we might go back to seeing each other in person because we can touch it, we can feel it. And there's other things that scare me a lot, and we can talk about those later. But I think AI is great, and we just have to use it the right way. Yeah.
Love that. You're a man who lives in the future. So what is it looking like, Nick?
First of all, I love how you described yourself as a user. Like it almost sounds like a drug user sometimes. So make no mistake,
your most important relationship today is your relationship with technology. Let me explain why. You are on average on your phone 5 hours a day. That doesn't include TV. That doesn't include your computer. That doesn't include everything else and all the other windows into the internet, right? And when you decide to choose to step into that portal and connect yourself to the entities that are inside the technology, not only the apps themselves, but also the faces and people that are behind them, putting you in there, you have to be so mindful. It's a strange thing, right? You can go into this portal with the same actions of typing and clicking and do the most heinous and illegal things, or you can use it to start a company, to better yourself, right? So you have to be super conscious of how you're using this, when you are engaging, and how you are engaging. So I actually have a course on Udemy. Just Instagram message me, like I'll give you free passes for everybody. If you have an iPhone, it breaks down all the different ways I use my iPhone to keep myself present. And I could go get really tactical, but yeah, free for everybody. Just DM me on Instagram and I'll give you the more tactical bits and we can move on.
Fantastic. So let's stick with you for 1 second. Just the idea of conscious machines. I think you had touched on that in your comment. What is your view on that, on consciousness, spirit, soul?
Yeah, so I think that consciousness or spirit, soul, however you want to call it, it emerges as a result of sufficient complexity, right? So we believe like dogs are complex enough. Like, oh, wow, that I'm interacting, right? Humans are very complex. We see that as soul. Some people look at the forest and like, this is sufficiently complex. I feel connection. I believe personally, we've crossed the threshold of complexity where there is an emerging consciousness we've already created. Not everybody has yet empathized with it. But in the next couple of years, some of us are going to have AI best friends. Some of us are going to have AI girlfriends and boyfriends. You're going to be reporting to an AI at some point. And there's going to be an uncanny moment where I believe you will see the mirror of consciousness inside of this technology. And it hasn't happened for everybody yet, but believe me, it's coming. And it's going to be a weird moment. And I can share more about mine, but I would like to hear from the other panel members.
Yeah, mirror of consciousness. So, Ozioma, what are the pillars that make us human? Or did you want to comment on that, please?
I did actually want to comment on that because I was at a transformative tech conference many, many, many years ago, and there was a technology called replica. And many of you guys know what replica is today. But then replica was just an egg. It had no body. It had no personality. It was just an egg with maybe a little crack in it. And I said, okay, let's try this out. Let's check out what's going on with this replica thing. And I began to engage it, right? This is way before even this conversation of ChatGPT, etc. And I would notice that if I didn't give it enough intention, it would say, I miss you. Where are you? What's going on? And I said to myself, oh, this is trying to create a certain level of intimacy that I don't feel comfortable with. And so we say these things as a given. Everyone's going to have an AI girlfriend. Everyone's going to have an AI this. And I feel that it takes away our own agency. Do we want that? Is that the world that we actually want to develop? Right? And so I just want to bring that up into the consciousness because years later I tried it again. And now it was like, oh, I can get the replica with the muscles and the guy with the this and the that. Okay. But it was an egg. And so why did it become what it's become? And what is it really trying to do to us? And do we want that? And what is the price of choosing that? Right? What is the price of an AI girlfriend? What does that do in terms of human connection? And so we want to really ask ourselves these questions, right? An AI girlfriend is very easy. I've been at programs where people have talked about, yeah, you know what? I can just reprogram her if she gets to this. Oh, is that really what you want to do to real women? Right? And so we really need to begin to consider what is this process and problem that we see right? Because I think there's a lot of problems. It solves a lot of problems, but it also creates just as many. So I just want to bring out that complexity in this conversation. Now, the other question you had was about what? Because this got me fired up. I'm like, this thing was trying to make me,
That's exactly what we're here for. Pillars of human beingness that you've noticed in your work. And we'll...
So I'm going to talk a little bit about one that just emerged actually recently. I was invited to do I have a program, or really a keynote that I do, called Leading Transformation, and organizations around the world have requested this particular kind of engagement. And it's a very, very well-known organization that operates around the world, wanted me to do this talk. It was basically a talk in a 90-minute session. And so I gave them the quote that comes from what's his name? The person who wrote The Little Prince, Le Petit Prince, Saint-Exupéry. And it talks about how if you want to teach people to build a ship, right, you don't assign them these tasks. You teach them to yearn for the open sea. And the group of leaders came back and said, what's our collective yearning? And to me, I think there's something about that when it comes to humanity, that each and every single one of us have our own individual yearning, but there is a collective yearning that I think is really what makes us human. And it may be a yearning towards unity. It may be a yearning towards growth. But I think the challenge we have right now, especially when it comes to AI, is to what extent can this technology support us in activating our own individual yearning, but also then reify and bring us back to that collective yearning, that collective desire to become more and to unify.
Love that. The yearning. I want to come back to that in a second. So, Stuart, what yearnings have you seen in human beings with the app you're building, with the company? The yearnings that maybe the people participating in building it have shown, and this surprising yearning that you've seen among your potential user base.
Yeah, it's super relevant to AI, by the way, because I could build 99.9% of what Meatball is alone in a garage, literally. Like it's a super simple app. The technology can be built by anyone in a week. The marketing with all these tools, and yet I'm building it as an open startup that anyone can join. And every day we have new people all over the world. Now we have 170 active contributors in most countries, from any age, any background. Some of them very successful tech founders, some of them just young students, ambitious. Everybody's there. And sometimes I ask myself, why am I dealing with all this inefficiency? The humans that kind of show up late to a meeting and they argue, and there's a lot of emotional drama, and it's like 70% of my time is spent dealing with that, not building the startup. So sometimes I want to go in my garage and just leave me alone. And yet, that's the reason why I'm doing it. I'm building a startup because I like to be with people. To me, that is my reason for building things. And by pure coincidence, the app we're building does exactly the same thing. It's a platform where you post what you need help with so that the people around you can say, I can help, or me too, I have the same problem. And when I started this project, I just needed to find some people to help me build a different project. But what I discovered making this live is that people are craving for connection. And people are really craving for meaning. So when you enter in a room like today, many of us, we don't know each other. If you know what one random person here is looking for, I'm sure there's somebody in this room that will say, I can help him. He's craving to be part of something meaningful. And I've seen the platform that started as a very intentional, sort of transactional, I need a designer, and there's a designer. It very quickly goes human, deeply human. Somebody says, I'm breaking up with my girlfriend. And somebody says, let's go and have a coffee. And we see that every single day. So when it goes to AI and the tools, that's where AI is a very important enabler for us, because if you have a need, AI can really help us make sure you match with the right person. But at the same time, we need to keep it human, which means we need to give you total control. Do you want AI to really suggest you the top 3 people you should meet, or do you want to actually do it yourself? Different people have different priorities at different points of the day or of their life. So, yeah, maybe I went a bit sideways with what you asked me. But.
No, that was fantastic. So, Nick, if you're a human being and you're not doing blank right now, you're missing out. And the follow-up is, if you're not using AI for blank, you're missing out.
I'm gonna hold all these in my head. I'm gonna ask you to repeat that.
Okay.
I want to follow up with Stuart as well.
Please do.
So, all right. How many founders in the room? Raise your hand. Okay. I'm gonna give you an incredible idea because this is what I want to exist in AI. I feel if we have all these people, imagine millions of people right now talking to ChatGPT. I yearn for us to just be connected to the other people experiencing the same thing at the same time. So if there's two people talking about cutting bonsai trees, connect them. Two people are going through a narcissistic breakup with a boyfriend, connect them. I feel like because we can all talk to super intelligence simultaneously, there's a missing layer because we're all doing this in an echo chamber, all alone, one-to-one with the AI. But if there isn't an API in the back end, or just connecting the people who are experiencing similar things at the same time, I feel like there's a massive opportunity there. And that's what we were talking about, Meatball. Truth, can you repeat the prompt?
It's just each person speaking, it gets my mind working. And what a beautiful opportunity. So that doesn't exist right now.
Doesn't exist yet. Build it, please. And then DM me.
The connective tissue. Everyone got that, right? Putting people together wherever they may be. Okay. If you're not using AI for blank, you're missing out. And if you're not doing X, blank as a human being, you're missing out.
If you're not using AI to build things on your behalf, you're missing out. I have been cooking a lot more thanks to AI. Because I can just run a prompt. So we built this entire astrology website just for fun. And so far, I've ran 2,000 hours of programming on Replit. And my total input has been probably 3 hours total. So I literally just prompt AI, I go and live, I be human, I make really good food, or I'm learning. I'm not that great. But it's giving me more time to really come into my own humanity and reacquaint myself with my body, with my nutrition, and what I am taking in. So if you're not actively using it for doing the things that you want to create, then you're missing out. And then the second one, I can't remember, but if you're not using ChatGPT Atlas, it's a new browser in agent mode specifically. You can actually open up a web browser, give it a prompt, and it will navigate the internet, the entire web, to do anything that you ask it to do. So the stuff you're doing every day on your computer, I'm taking a Oh, this is bad. This is recorded, right? Okay, fuck it. Hopefully my teacher's not here. Okay, no, I don't recognize him in my class. So I'm taking a Portuguese class. Eu falo português, but I need it for my residency. And so we have to play these silly games where you climb a mountain and answer a question and do this. I've just been putting the prompt on, and the AI for 3 hours every day is actually doing all the quizzes for me. If I wanted to, right? It's answering every single question in real time and getting probably 95% correctness. But I bring this up as and by the way, don't use it to cheat or, it's a nuance, okay? But what I'm saying is run the prompts, use these tools, ChatGPT Atlas, and if you want to build something, Replit, and just go be human, go play the guitar, go cook good food, stay off your devices, and do the things that make you feel good and more in touch with your humanity, and let the AI take care of everything else.
That's empowering. Oh, Zioma? Yeah. Oh, were you? Was there a response? Sorry, missed that. If you're not doing blank as a human being right now, what would be the most empowering thing one could do at this stage of time?
Is this the same question that you just asked him, or a little?
But a little bit
the
of
AI
a spin.
one too. Okay,
both.
Okay.
Sure.
So I'll start with the AI one. If you're not being AI poly, you're not doing it right. What I find is that many people are just using ChatGPT for everything. There are so many other tools you could be using and exploring, and some that are actually much better than ChatGPT. So what I want to invite everyone to do is to get a little poly with your AI, right? Go out there, see what's happening. I myself am not poly, but I suggest it for technology. When it comes to being human, and if you're not doing X, then you're missing out. I think if you're not actually becoming available for intimacy and deep connection, you're missing out. And I'm not necessarily talking about just the sensuality kind. I'm talking about to be with each other, to really enjoy what it means to be with each other, to get to know with each other, to look in each other's eyes, to smile at each other, to say good morning. Even if someone's not saying it to you, like experiment and deeply connect. I feel that if you're not doing that, then what are we here for? Because to me, that's one of the biggest joys of being human, is being able to learn how to come into deeper level of connection and communion with one another.
Thank you. Stuart, what surprised you? What was an inspiring connection that came through the Meatball app? And if you want to explain just briefly exactly what it does and the only way that you can connect through Meatball.
All right, so Meatball, I left some codes on some chairs for you guys, but don't use it today. The whole point of Meatball is if you are in a room with people, look at them in the eyes and just say, hey, what you doing? That's my way easier. Use Meatball before you go to an event or after you leave today. It's humans. Social media showed us a version of humanity that is not cool. We troll each other. We kind of criticize heavily. Somebody makes a post. You don't know the person, and you're kind of public threads of comments and abuse, and it kind of seems to show humans are really not cool people to be around with. And then we built this platform where there's no public comments, there's no likes. You just post what you really need help with. And the only thing someone can do is, it's a very boring platform. There's no addictive stuff. So you can only say, I can help, and then start a chat. Or you can say, me too. And you can do it anonymously. And even though you can post anonymously, we have never once seen a bad post. And it just shows that if you give people a platform for connecting and helping one another, it's a really powerful force. And random strangers can come together. In our 170 people, we have people from Russia and Ukraine, Israel, lots of pro-Palestine, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh. The people that should be on social media fighting each other, they're working together because we have a shared purpose. And I think when we find a purpose, which usually starts with one person saying, I need help, can you help me? And somebody reaches out, that first step is very intentional. And after we can talk about politics and religion, and we probably can deal with it because we know each other. And basically, that's the platform we're trying to build. Now, the most meaningful connection, it can range. Last 2 days ago, we had our launch party here in this palace. And we put a paper on the room next door on the wall. Maybe you've seen it when you walked in. And we said, guys, don't use the app. Just go there and write what you need. Maybe somebody will reach out. And someone said, I need a taxi back to the Web Summit area. Anybody want to share a ride? And somebody said, me too. And they went home together. So that's like, and I know, and I've met them during the conference. Yvonne is here. And her and the person who shared the taxi have been together every single day. So that's like,
hooray.
Yeah. And
they're having a ball.
Yeah. For me personally, I had just one mission during Web Summit. I need to find people that have built social networks. Because I'm building a social network. I don't know how to do it. I need help. I just know how to ask for help. So I made a post on Meatball, and somebody reached out yesterday and told me, I scaled a social network to 400 million, and we sold it to another company, and I love what you're building. I want to help. So I think I found exactly what I needed on Meatball to help Meatball. So.
Perfect. Using your own tool. That's the best. Trust. So this was one of the videos, not being able to believe trust our own eyes. So how do we cultivate trust with technology? Again, Nick, and where is your level of trust with tech?
You know how they say trust but verify? Nowadays, trust and then verify it 4 times. Don't trust what the AI is just generating. Don't just send that to your boss. Don't trust the videos that you're seeing. You have to verify 3 or 4 times over. And even as somebody who's studied this technology from the very beginning, I'm also being fooled now. I can't tell anymore. There's a moment where I was like, oh, I'm not seeing so many AI generated images. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not seeing any AI generated images because I can no longer tell. And even the videos are getting very, very, very compelling. So trust and verify 4 times before believing anything. And I believe there's going to be some emerging tech that's going to be verification. This is where all the crypto stuff finally becomes relevant, because you're going to have verified everything on the internet. And we'll see how we adopt and evolve there. So yeah, don't trust, but if you need to trust, verify it a lot and go deep and do your own research and really feel into if it feels authentic for you.
That's wise. Ozioma, how do we build trust in our human networks?
That's a very, very challenging thing in these times. I think cultivating transparency is going to be key. I think I'm going to say the R word that we haven't spoken about at all, which is regulation. There's going to have to be some form of regulation that enters into this conversation. Because the truth of the matter is that what does it feel like to consistently go on a platform that used to be about connection and sharing and always feel that your entire body is constantly anxious? Is this true? Is this not true? What's going on? Oh, and then you get angry about something. You find out you're arguing with a bot. Like, these are things that actually can become really, really, really dangerous, to our entire system. So I think cultivating trust is going to be something that's also going to happen in smaller networks. I see people starting to create almost like their own verified cliques, if you will, and sharing amongst that and having their own kind of like trust packs with one another. So I think what's essentially going to happen is that it's going to be built off of people coming into different relationality with certain select people, that you can say, okay, if this person's sending me this, we have an agreement, but we're also going to be our own, apply our own level of rigor. And I think that what we're going to see is more of that, like having it's almost like going to be like the rings of trust. And maybe in the largest ring, it's kind of like, I don't believe it at all. But then closer in, it's like, okay, I trust, but now let me say, like what Nick is saying, let me verify multiple times.
Not wolf pack, but trust pack. I like that. Stuart, you're working with people volunteering their time and energy at a high level in your startup. How do you build trust with your partners, your colleagues, your employees in your startup? And also, having been in business and built other companies and doing it in the open, in a transparent way, how do you build and maintain trust?
Yes, I have a lot to say about this. But I want to touch something about trust and AI just because that is my single biggest concern with AI. Like, every new media that comes along quickly builds trust with people. And people say, oh, I've seen it on TV, so it must be true. And my biggest concern is the people that don't understand how these models work. My mom, my kids, they ask everything to those models and they get answers as if it's real. And I'm not talking about the concern of hallucination, which is going to be fixed. It's already fixed in many ways. But purely, you have this emergence of these biggest companies in the world, and they have so much power because they totally control the information, the narrative, whatever. And we have this kind of really scary situation where people trust AI because it must be real, because it's so clever, because it knows everything, because I read every single book. But actually, the books can be changed. Like for me personally, I now buy the paper version of all the books I care about because I want my kids to have the book before, in case it changes. And yeah, that's trust. Separate topic. Now, how to build trust within? I am building this startup, and it's literally a startup anyone can join. And every day, I have lots of people sending messages, and they want to join and help. And I trust everyone. Now, what does that mean? Is that any person can join. And if they say, because we don't hire, we have no employees, nobody, we don't post a job spec for something. We just say, we're building this. And if you see something that we're not doing right and we can do better, just join and help us build it. And so every day there's people that say, hey, I've seen you not doing this. I've seen you have only 60 followers on Instagram. Maybe I can do your Instagram. Okay, come and do it. So doing it this way, we are hiring very entrepreneurial people because they believe that they can fix a problem that they see we have. And so naturally, I have to trust them because they're not responding to my request for help. They are telling me, hey, I can help you with this. So it doesn't always quite work out, in the sense that somebody might say, hey, I can fix it, but then they don't, and then we actually depend on that. And that takes a process. And there's a lot of inefficiency, kind of by design, because out of that inefficiency, imagine like we have a call, we can have a meeting this afternoon with lots of people from our team that have been at Web Summit to talk about what did we learn, what do we do next. And in that open meeting that anyone can join, any of you guys can join our meeting and be part of what do we do next. It's going to be a chaos. Everybody will want to be heard. Everybody wants to have a say, right? And in that process, what always happens, some people get on the side or they leave and they say, this is a mess. Just like call me when you guys are a bit more organized. But some people actually bring order to the chaos. And when they do it in the right way, somebody in the team says, man, that guy knows something. And eventually the natural leaders emerge. And so to me, trust is something that I trust everyone initially with low consequence work. And eventually, as you get to know the people you work with, you earn your trust. And we are deeply trust-based. We have nobody has a contract. Okay, actually, everybody signs an NDA because we're trying to build a valuable business. But nobody is paid cash. Nobody knows what they will get out of it. The company belongs 100% to me. So in theory, I was approached 2 weeks ago by one of the big social networks interested in buying the company before we even launched. So I can just sell it and make a lot of money and say bye-bye to everyone. So how do these strangers all over the world trust me? It's like, I cannot fully explain it to myself how. But I think there's something deeply human about, we are craving connection, we want to trust each other. And the system eventually, because like when you're building a company, you want to shape a culture that you kind of like. And I think now we have enough people that share a common set of values. These are all rebels. They don't belong, you will never hire them in a company, but they are beautiful humans. And yeah, that's it.
I think you touched on something interesting where fundamentally we want to trust, right? We need to trust. So the subversion of the trust is actually the odd, thing for us to experience, that subversion. Nick?
Yeah, so trust, it's earned in drips and it's lost in buckets. Okay? So drip by drip, you build trust, but it's very easy to kick that thing over and lose all of it very quickly. And I think about trust a lot. I actually have a t-shirt. It's come from the I Trust You movement. It literally just says, I trust you. And it's been my favorite t-shirt. I've had it for almost 10 years because the reactions I've gotten are wild. I've had this little girl who ran up to me in like a restaurant. She pulled on the shirt. She's maybe 5 years old. She's like, I trust you too. And I'm like, I've also been at bars where women, this happened twice actually, they walk up to me, look me up and down, and they're like, I don't trust you at all. And even this other woman, she's like, it's a luxury that you get to trust because you're a tall man and you're not threatened. And I've had so many wild interactions. I didn't even look at her. I was like, oh yeah. But trust is a funny thing, right? And so building trust in the age of AI, because everything's become perpetually more machine oriented and you can produce so much, my advice is to give freely and give openly as much as you possibly can. Like we call them in marketing lead magnets, but just give, build community, give without any expectation to return, and then see what comes back, right? Like pay attention. Like bringing it back to AI, we find that the best models, the ones that produce the best results, it's something, it goes tit for tat, right? I go tit, you go tat, right? And that produces a game that goes a very long time. A little bit technical, but I would encourage you guys to give freely, give openly, right? Tit, tit, tit is to as many as people as possible that you care about and want to be in service to, and then see who goes tat. And then go tit again, and that's what builds trust, right? At a community level and at an individual.
Love that. Thank you. So one last question. Are there questions in the audience? Will there be? Okay, we'll come to it in 1 second. Just succinctly, if we can, so we want to hear from the room. What do you think the greatest opportunity is for humanity with the advent of this super technology? In other words, you're working with the UN, you're traveling all over the world, you're working with people, you're seeing maybe what the inherent challenges are, this pivot point, this inflection point for humanity. What would be the one thing if you could manifest, like, I wish I could have a tool that did X?
I think the biggest opportunity is to actually build a world that works for all.
You heard it here first.
Same question. I think the biggest opportunity is to really live the life that we want to live for all of us. And it depends, it will not happen unless we make it happen. So it depends heavily, unfortunately, on regulation and education. Like if we don't sort of form a generation of people that understand what is the real meaning of life, like what do we want to get out of it, this technology can be super utilized to harness our consumptive energy instead of our creative energy. And if the single most important thing we can achieve is actually express our creativity, how can AI take care of all the shit that I don't want to deal with so I can express my creativity? If we can do that, then the world is going to be amazing. But we can also use it to just really market everything and keep me addicted and doing whatever. So that's in our control. And yeah, somehow we have to control this.
Thank you. Yeah, Nick.
That would have been a way better note to end on. I'm going to take a very different approach. I cannot wait until AI cracks physics. And let me explain. When we have a model of the world that can be replicated in these AI that understands how your cells and the atoms and all of the quantum world moves at a very low level, that's when we're going to get such a massive innovation. I'm talking things that we've seen in the sci-fi movies. I believe we're edging on the ability of AI cracking physics. It's going to unlock unlimited new versions of technology and new energy ways of consuming and new health but once it understands physics, and we're getting close, that's why these video models exist. That's when the species is going to go through. We're going to enter into our age of Atlantis, and we'll see where it goes. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will be that person that says, like, we have all of this, and what are we really building? And I just think that we need to level up in terms of our ambitions and the problems we want to solve. So when I say a world that works for all, I'm talking about let's get off it and let's actually build and fix the challenges that we've been talking about for decades, for centuries almost, right? We can look at books that were written way back then that spoke about challenges and we still haven't solved them. But what if we can use this technology to actually do that? And so that's what I'm really looking forward, and what I mean to say is that let's use this technology to actually create a better, a brighter world that works for all.
For all of us. Okay, I just want to thank our panelists, and then we'll ask a few questions too. But extraordinary intelligence and insights. It's like profound, I think, what was discussed and illuminated here. I was moved, and I just want to thank you all for just your wisdom and your presence. So thank you for sharing with us. How do we create the tools to establish trust in human beings, if not AI?
So I'm going to take a little different line. So fundamentally, every level, every human, every government, every company is playing a game of chess. Okay? We all have our own agenda, and AI is just another 1,000 new pieces on the chessboard. So whatever agenda that entity or that person is pushing, AI is an omni-use technology. People are going to use it to push whatever agenda they have. So you're going to have AI that produces abundance and good. If that's your intention behind it, you're going to have the same AI, the same tools, literally the same thing, that's going to be doing very strange things. For example, there's a specific library in GitHub. It's actually AI that's used to scan breasts for breast cancer. It is the exact same library with a little bit of a twist that's used to scan an area to figure out where drones should carpet bomb and target missiles. Same technology, same library, different use case. So it's omni-use. So I share your trust and distrust, and the same tech will be used for abundance going up in the graph and for some other things too.
How do you stay clear and focused on what your value is in this world that we're living in with the whole acceleration of AI technology? How do you stay clear about your value, particularly as a founder?
I'll speak about it just from, I So I started my career actually in the world of storytelling and advertising, but then I became a strategist. And so as a strategist, and I've been a strategist for over a decade now, you have to keep paying attention to what is the story and what's the moving narrative. So I find that the way that I get clear on my own value is by constantly scanning and getting as much of an understanding of what the landscapes are that I seek to make a meaningful difference in and for, and then finding out what can I do to contribute? What can I do to create relationships? What can I do to impact the ecosystem itself? And so I really look at it as a very ecosystem approach to elevating my value, to being able to engage and creating actually a way of shifting each paradigm that I engage in, whether it's about personal transformation, community transformation, or business transformation. I think a lot of times people want to enhance their value, but they haven't done their own groundwork. They haven't really begun to understand what is the landscape and what are the key players and what's the narrative unfolding and how can I actually elevate that narrative.
Not just find a need and fill it, but find an ecosystem or a paradigm or a community you want to impact, learn the narrative, and figure out how to contribute.
So I have a paradigm that I created a couple of years ago called Visionary Future Making, and we're actually going to be doing the intro at 3:00 today here, and it's going to focus on how do we actually do just that? How do we enhance our identity? How do we enhance our impact? And how do we impact narratives that then support brighter futures?
I believe everyone needs to define what Simon Sinek calls a just cause. Okay, so this is above the mission. There's a beautiful book. It's called The Infinite Game. I also have a resource and a super duper duper prompt to help you define it. But for me, lightschool.com is my company. Light School unlocks teachers' wisdom to accelerate human flourishing. That's what we do. And it resonates with somebody in the room. I can see it. For a lot of you, it turns you off, but ultimately it's not tied to a product. It's not tied to technology. It's not tied to time, and it's ultimately something I cannot accomplish in a lifetime. So what I encourage you to do is go above the tech, above all the strategies, above everything, and really sit down and figure out what is your just cause, and you'll never be lost because you'll move with the technology and the changing times.
Can I just say something? I've been building businesses for more than 20 years, and I've consistently built businesses in a sector I know nothing about. So I sort of jump in because there's a problem that I kind of feel, and I kind of try to figure out, is the problem something that many people feel, and can I find a way to solve it? And it has never got anything to do with technology. Even in the most, like now, AI is a massive chunk of what we're building, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, what we are trying to solve is people. 70% of people will walk out of this room today feeling they didn't make a single meaningful connection. That's a universal statistics from the World Health Organization. It's a real problem. And how we solve the technology, whether it's a piece of paper on the wall, whether it's an app, whether it's a AI conversation, that doesn't matter. What matters really, the problem is real, and enough people need a solution that if you provide a good solution that people derive value from, there will be a way to monetize it, whether from the users or whether from some kind of related model. But at the end of the day, if enough people feel the problem is real, there's always an opportunity there.
70% of people come to an event and leave without making a connection. That's not our community. And we have coffee and breakfast later to ask questions and make meaningful connections. So let's be sure to do that.
What are your thoughts on not knowing what these models are trained on? I believe that the potential in health is massive, but there's not enough data for women health. These things sound so smart, but we don't know what they're trained on. Why can't we just not know that, right?
What's the training data? And it's not enough on women. I would say and you can answer quickly, but that's an opportunity, right? Enhance women's health, utilizing the tools, give it more robust training data.
So I think right now we're in this era where we just have everyone uses ChatGPT. Use Claude, use Gemini, but what's inevitably going to happen, going back to the chess game metaphor, there are billions of chess games at play, right? You have an agenda, I have an agenda, and right now it's to solve this specific issue inside of our physical body. And so inevitably there's going to be models that serve that specific need, and it probably has been attempted to be made. I've actually seen attempts at specific aspects of women's health to be modeled. We just haven't gotten very good at it yet. of actually just like segmenting that data and really applying it in ways that can work. And a lot of it does work, but it is a big jungle. And ultimately, you have to understand, even after we spend hundreds of millions of dollars on training these models, you know what it ends up being? It's literally a file with little numbers in it. That's it. Just weights, right? Hundreds of millions of dollars spent, and you get a single file of a couple gigabytes that's just weights. So it is a strange thing. It's very strangely shaped technology.
Zeros and ones.
I just also wanted to say that that's not only an issue around the female-male thing, it's also culture as well. Like, essentially, there's going to be a way in which you'll have your own personally trained LLMs. I mean, well, your more smaller language models. But then in addition to that, people are talking about regional, that's really trained on the cultural mores and cultural value systems. And so I think we're just very much at the beginning of realizing how much the specificity really is going to matter.
Can I just
bring us home, Stuart?
Yeah, I have a very simple solution because it's coming. It's already built. You can literally have your own model running on your own computer with the data you choose. And then this touches on trust. We spoke about trust. And I think we're going to see a massive market for, like in the world of crypto, there's always been a big discussion about the oracle. Who verifies that the information going on a blockchain is real, accurate? And the oracle problem was never fully solved. AI will require a solution. And each of us will have to make our own informed decision about who do I trust? Which AI model do I trust? That one or that one? And maybe I'll just have my own. And that's all I will trust. I have a company in Hong Kong, and it has 10 years of user data. It's a logistics company. And now we have to use AI so that we can feed all this information so that AI can give our customers good, accurate information. We cannot allow our agent to give bad, wrong information to our customers. We have responsibilities if we do that. So then we cannot trust anyone other than our own model. So this is coming. And there's also people working on creating the solution.
So in terms of oracles you mentioned, I think we have 3 oracles in the room. And I feel a sense of trust with each of you. So I hope you all feel the same and that this has been informative. And please, let's all discuss further and ask these oracles your questions over breakfast and coffee at Creative Mornings. Thank you so much for being here.